Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for listening again. I'm here today with my boy Mike Burns out in Salt Lake.
What's up, Levi?
Oh, yeah, welcome, man. I'm glad to have you on here and share your background and your knowledge. Mike is a real estate investor. He buys flips, does new construction. He does mortgage lending to real estate sales. So he's got a little bit of everything in his tool bag. Um, so Mike, why don't you just start us off? You've got some cool fail stories and shit. I know that like you sold Christmas trees or something for a long time. So just give us a little background of where you're from and how you got started doing what you're doing.
Cool. Yeah, man. I grew up in Tehachapi, California, small town. Like I had to drive 20 minutes to get to school. I think we had 200 kids in my graduating class. But so I grew up there, but my dad had a nursery and a landscape company. So I grew up in the nursery business. I could tell you all about the trees and the plants, Christmas trees, all that stuff. And then when real estate came into my life, I was probably 15 or 16 years old and my dad sold the business. And he had this same business in that town for 25, 26 years. And small town, you get that vibe a little bit in Montana, but just super well
Yeah.
connected, knew everybody. It's just small town. And that's what when you grow up. So not a whole lot of exposure to big buildings, big cities, lots of money, wealth, stuff like that. Like we were middle class. And so anyway, my dad sells this business. And what he did is he took the money from selling the nursery and he partnered with a general landscaper, general contractor, a guy named Roger that I had known my whole life. And basically, my dad went out and bought a bunch of lots with the money that he made from the sale of the business. And he went to Roger and was like, hey, how about let's build these houses? I'll put up the lot and I'll put up the money to build them. You build the house. And then their agreement was whatever it was. And so he probably built maybe 20 houses over the course of 2.5, 3 years. And that was when I was like my junior, senior year in high school. And then also they sold their last house as things were starting to go to shit in 2008. That's literally when they sold the last one.
Good
So
time.
yeah, my dad was building the houses, but I was busy with sports and all that. So I was just like, oh yeah, dad's building houses, whatever. And then he was in the wholesale side of the nursery business too. But what happened is I went to college, my first year of college, and I had been away for about a year. And then my mom's telling me and my dad's telling me how they just bought a condo on the beach in Oregon on the internet and they've never even seen it. So they're having to drive to Oregon to go see this condo that they're buying and like paying cash for. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then so they end up closing on that condo and we go up there and they're just buying all the shit that you need for the condo. And I was like, we weren't doing this when I was growing up. Mom and dad are just buying a fucking condo on the beach, just like
Right.
buying all the shit for it. And not even like money wasn't even a topic of conversation. That was when to me, I was like, okay, something has shifted. Like we've always done well, but like this type of shit wasn't happening. And the separator was the real estate and building these houses. And that's why I tell that story because that's like where real estate came on my radar. But at that time, I'm like 19 years old and getting into real estate's not really, it's just not real. You know what I mean? I remember I went to Barnes and Noble and I bought the Everything You Need to Know to Be a Real Estate Agent book. And I just remember reading it and I didn't think that I could do that. And lesson number one for everybody listening, like a limiting belief is a really big, crazy thing that can get in your way because right now there's a kid that I partner with and do deals with and is like a little brother to me. And he did his first deal when he was 17 and he's about to be 21 and he's straight crushing it. There's a guy at that same age sitting there doing a ton of real estate deals. And I'm sitting there thinking, I can't do this.
I
So
think self-doubt holds us all back a little bit in the beginning,
yeah,
especially when you're young.
yeah. So at that point, the dreams of real estate just went to the wayside because I didn't think it was reasonable or realistic. So what happened was I ended up getting in the nursery business. So I started working at a retail garden center in Oregon, and I thought I was going to want to open my own nursery like my dad had, but in Oregon. And then I ended up getting a job doing inside sales at a nursery called Monrovia, and that was on the wholesale side of the business. I know this is long winded, but it's the foundation of everything. So
Absolutely.
anyways, I'm 19 years old and I have the last name Burns. And my grandpa was like a pioneer of this company. He was their top sales guy. He's like a legend in the nursery industry. So basically my last name got my foot in the door. Like the next youngest person there was like 31, 32 years old. They all had horticulture degrees. Monrovia's at the time was doing 150 million a year in wholesale nursery volume across North America. So like big company. And I just landed an inside sales job at their corporate headquarters in Oregon, which is like 1,000-acre nursery. And it was really because of my last name. And that was something that stuck out to me, especially now. The only reason I had that opportunity was because of a reputation and relationships and something that my grandpa had done. And then also my dad was in the business as well. But that's your name and your reputation. My dad has always told me since I was a kid, all you have is your name and your word. And that came through big for me. My family name mattered. And I got an opportunity that I shouldn't have gotten because of that. So, anyways, I was doing inside sales and I'm like 20 years old. I set a company sales record. I've got a $2 million sales quota. All my buddies, they're doing whatever they're doing and going to college and partying. And I'm working like 70, 80 hours a week, just grinding on the phones. And I supported like 8 different territories and outside sales reps. So I basically had free reign to call all of those guys customers and tell them shit. So I started doing that. But I remember I made my first phone call, bro. We had these cool cubicles, but you had these like French doors that went out to a big courtyard. And I was so nervous. I didn't want anyone to hear me on the phone. So I remember I would hit the call button and then I'd step outside onto the into the patio area because I didn't want anyone listening because all the other salespeople were in there and I was way young, never done that before. They don't give you any sales training. They just make sure you understand about plants. So anyways, I did that. I end up selling like 2.2 million one year. I made 50 grand in commissions and I thought I was a shit, dude. And so I ended up applying for an outside sales territory position and I didn't get it. And the guy that they gave it to, and territories never come available. So like sales guys die in their territories at this company. So a territory coming up is a big deal. And I applied for it and it came down to me and this other dude and they ended up giving the territory to him. And I was pissed, dude, because I sold twice as much as he did. I was flat out better than he was, straight up better than him. But he was older and he was from that area. He had been with the company for 4 or 5 years. And I got a little bit of taste of what corporate is like. And I was like, I'm the better dude here. This is bullshit. So, anyways, I was pissed and I said, fuck it. And I quit. I didn't quit, but I was like, so what I did is my dad, coming back to what I was saying, he was in the wholesale side of the business as well. So I went and made a deal with a guy named Leo Gentry and he had an 800-acre nursery in Oregon. And this guy gave me exclusive territory in Western Canada, and then Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Oklahoma, North Texas, Washington. And that was my exclusive territory that I could go sell his product into those areas. And he would pay me a 10% commission only. Um, and that was the deal. But I started with 0 customers. But the thing was, is when I was at Monrovia and I was slaying it, I did a couple million. I knew where all the good territories were at, and I knew where I had already had. I chose Canada, which is a unique one because I was already selling into that area.
Mhm.
I had a little bit of established relationships. These people knew me. So anyways, I quit Monrovia and it's that was one of the turning points in my life and would put me on the path. And the reason I share all of this is because there's lots of things that happen along the way
Right.
that I think are important. But dude, if I would have got that territory, it was doing like 1.4, 1.5 million in sales and they were paying an 8% commission. So it would have been like 130 grand a year, right?
Right.
When you're 19, 20 years old, you're thinking, and this is back when money was actually worth something. I was thinking, fuck, dude, I'd be making 130, 140 grand a year, live in Spokane, Washington. Like I'll be set because that
That's
was
the box that you
that was of the environment that I was in. So anyway, that didn't work out. So I said, fuck it. And I quit and I went out on my own commission only. And that's when I was selling trees and sleeping in my car. Like I wasn't 25. So a lot of places won't rent a car to you. So I drove everywhere. That's when I moved to Utah. Then I drove everywhere, bro. But anyway, so I was selling trees, and this was in 2008, 2009. So the middle of the worst economic situation our country's ever had. I'm like trying to sell landscape, like trees to nurseries. And I'm going into these businesses and dude, their business is literally down 50%, 60% because no one's building homes. Like the housing market just fell apart and businesses are going out of business right and left. And that was the environment that I was sitting there selling into, but I was young and just had this huge territory and opportunity, and I didn't understand, I didn't comprehend what was going on
And you had
economically.
never lived through a recession before. Never, we've heard of 'em, but we had never seen them.
Yeah, so, like, if I would have been educated on that, no one in their right mind would have ever did what I did, but because I didn't know, that was a big thing. So that's where I started with nothing. So I've cold called thousands of nurseries. I would roll into where you live. I've told you, Richard Marble, who owns Billings Nursery, is my like, that's the first guy in Montana I ever called on. But I'd show up and I would Google the night before all the nurseries in that town, and I put them into Google Maps, and it would put a route together for me. And I would just show up and say, "Hey, is the owner or the manager around? Can I get 5 minutes? I'm Michael." Dude, I looked like I was 19. I had people ask me like, "Are you even old enough to drive?" And I'm out there just hustling. You're thinking I'm gonna be making a couple 100 grand a year if this goes well.
Right.
But that's where I learned like hard work, dude, and perseverance and just dealing with problems and being self-starting and just all of the stuff. But and a sales foundation, really understanding how to do sales, meet somebody cold, get enough rapport to get a meeting, to sit down and just keep getting a little bit more time and eventually having them become a customer. And then the follow up customer service. And that laid a huge foundation for me into my real estate business. So what happened was my brother called me and he said, "Hey, bro, are you going to be around this weekend for there's this free house flipping workshop?" And it was a local guru. It was like Dean Graziosi was coming to town. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be in town." So we end up going to this free workshop. We end up buying the $1,500 program, totally got scammed, ended up getting our money back. And the guy who was on the phone with us when we followed up, like lied to us about a bunch of shit. So it didn't go well. And then another one came up 3 months later, Armando Montalongo, who's like the first real estate flip house
I
flipper.
remember that guy.
His seminar was coming to town. So my brother hits me up again. He's like, "Yo, dude, what do you think? Should we go?" So we end up going. And so we end up going, dude, and we end up this is like a Thursday night free at the Marriott type thing. And then they're like, "Hey, this weekend we're going to be teaching our weekend workshops, $1,500, and they do the upsell." So we did the upsell and then we're there. And then they do the upsell to the bus tour, the $40,000 Southern California bus tour, where they promise you you're going to learn everything you need to know to flip houses in 2 days, which is totally unrealistic. Like you can't. So anyways, they promise you hard money lenders and all of this shit, dude. So I literally max out the credit card that I have on me in my wallet for 10 grand for the deposit, maxed it out. And then we call our dad and we tell him, "Hey, we're going to go to this." And he did, thank God he was like not supportive. He was like, "Do not do that. You're going to be fucking dead before you ever start. Please do not go spend for," he saw I was 20. I was 20. I think I was 24 at the time. And he's, "Yeah, dude, please do not go spend $40,000 on debt to go to this fucking bus tour. Don't do that." And we're like, "Nah, man, if our backs are against the wall and we have no other option, no other choice, we're going to fucking make it happen." And we're all still hyped from the sales guys at the seminar telling you the exact same thing, why you need to go 40 grand in debt to go to their fucking bus tour. So anyways, I end up calling and canceling and they give us our thing back. And I'm so grateful to this day that we would have never ever done that because I know what that guru world is all about. And it's part of why we're doing what we're
Right.
doing, right. So anyways, man, long story short, we didn't end up going on the bus tour, but I had this cool we learned in that weekend, and it was a find it, fund it, fix it, and then sell it. The 4 different steps of doing a flip. And that really helped me out a bunch. But what happened was we plugged into our local real estate group, the Slaria. And from the time we went to Floria, it took my brother and we went, so it's Floria Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. So it's like a real estate investor group. Everybody should join their local group in their town. I highly recommend that. People I coach, that's the first thing I tell them to go do because you want to get in the room. But anyways, we start showing up. And from that point forward, it took us a year and 94 offers. And then we got our first deal. So for a year, I was writing offers, not knowing what I was doing, going to this Slaria group, trying to learn how much a bathtub costs. I didn't know shit about anything.
Right.
My dad makes some money in real estate, and I want to do that too. And I was selling trees on the road, sleeping in my car for 4 years. I grew that to a little over 500,000 in sales. So, anyways, we get our first deal. We do the first deal. Everything that could go wrong does go wrong, but we somehow make 24,000 on that first deal. and I walked away from selling plants, and I've been full blown real estate ever since. And that was in 2012. So long intro, dude, but it lays the foundation of so much.
I love it. I've got a couple points I'd like to circle back there. Because a lot of people will spend the money for those bus tours just to get bamboozled. So, a couple of things, starting from your sales background as slanging trees. How important do you think it is? Because I thought salesperson was like a four-letter word growing up in a blue collar family, right? My dad's a truck driver, and they always look down on the salesman, but I just always had that vibe, the make friends with people and able to take care of them as a salesman. How important do you, because like I have a 16-year-old son, and I'm telling him he needs to go work retail somewhere before he does anything. Like, how important do you think it is for a young person to get into that sales position right off the bat to get them out of their comfort zone?
I think if I could only pick one skill set to have, it would be the ability to do sales, because you're always going to be able to make a living no matter what it is. But salespeople have a bad rap. The used car salesman, the hard close, the hard pressure,
Right.
two things like that's not a good salesman. A good salesman is just someone who has the ability to conversate with someone, to build rapport with someone, to get them to you trust you, and you to be able to guide them through a process of questioning them and getting to understand why they are where they are, and what it is they're looking for, and how you can provide a solution to them. That's what a true salesman it is. It's
Right.
not a fucking sign the line right here, high pressure. And especially in real estate, dude, like you might be able to close someone to sign the offer, but then emotions are going to come back down. And they're going to say, this is stupid. I don't feel good about it.
Absolutely.
Going to cancel. So like truly being a true sales professional and someone who's good at sales really means you're good at people. You're good at navigating conversations and asking good questions. And really, I think to be a good salesperson, you have to come from a level of integrity and positive energy to where you're trying to be solution based. And that's how you're going to get build a relationship first and then really get a sales done. So I think a good salesman is really more in the relationship and the people business, not so much the hard close and pressure. And if you learn to do that, everybody, when I read Grant Cardone's book, he has a book called Sell or Be Sold. Y- You're either being sold or you're selling all day, every day, no matter what it is. If you're a parent, you're selling your kid on why they need to go to bed, and they're trying to sell you on why they don't want to go to bed. You're trying to sell someone on why you're the best mortgage loan officer. You're trying to sell a lead on a potential seller on why you're the best cash offer for them. You're trying to sell a client like you have, Levi, of why Infinity is the best builder in Montana. And if they want a beautiful custom home, like why you're their guy. Like that's what sales is. So, like to be successful in life, I think sales is a required skill, and to the extent that you're able to do that, is really how I think your entire life is going to be experienced.
And I think you and I are a lot like this. People do business with their friends or people that they connect with. So I think having that skill to be able to connect with people and take care of them through the whole transaction is how we do business. And like when we're coaching people, I hate the objections and the scripts and everything like that, especially in real estate, because every house, everybody's personal situation is different. So I think you have to treat everything as its own individual transaction. Not everything's an objection and a script that you can follow.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And so the more to the extent that you can just be in the people business.
Yep, absolutely. And then what do you think made you that driven at such a young age where we see I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of people driven and to make their mark and go out and make a name for themselves.
Well, a couple of things. There's that whole saying like they either got it or they don't. I think that you either come out of the box, type A, driven, entrepreneurial, or wanting to be success based or production based. So I think that's part of it is, are you, because if you take, I think anybody can learn to be successful and learn to be a salesperson, but like some of us are just more naturally geared for that. So I think that's definitely part of it. And then for me, because I'm already that way, and then the environment that I grew up in, my parents owned a business, they were entrepreneurs. So that's what I grew up in and I was around. So that's what was normal to me. And then to be honest with you, dude, growing up, I was always calling the underdog. I was shorter, I was chubby. People would talk shit and make fun of me. And so that made me want to be better. So I played sports year round. A lot of times I'd be playing 2 sports at the same time, and I practiced harder because I wanted to be the best, because that's fine. So that was my way of, like, winning, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna fucking be better than you.
Right.
Like, sports is my thing, whatever, and so you take that attitude and just coupled with being type A, growing up in an entrepreneur situation, and then just wanting to win and wanting to be results driven, that's where it comes from for me.
I love that. You see a lot of people that come from that sports background be super driven because they're used to, they don't shy away from the competition.
There's competition, there's also teamwork, there's camaraderie, there's the ability to be coachable. You have to practice, discipline, working on a skill set. There's so much that goes into that. And I think that moves smoothly into what we do, being entrepreneur, self-driven, whatever it might
Right.
be. Similar, it's just a different vehicle that you're in.
Absolutely. So tell me about that year one from the you starting that, you're buying that first flip to where you're 5 or 6, like the lessons that you learned. There's so many crazy stories with buying properties and flipping them and stuff like that. What was your path to learning all the stuff? I mean, the school of hard knocks sort of vision.
Dude, like I knew nothing about nothing. So like my first deal that we did, even though it took us a year to get this deal, like I went off the wholesaler's numbers. He told me that this is the ARV, the repairs, all the shit. Like I trusted a bid that he had. Oh, it's going to cost you 40 grand to do all the stuff. Like I literally trusted all of this dude's numbers, and it worked out. And I think that's just because I was in alignment and literally showing up for a year, and I got lucky, but you can't get lucky if you don't show up. So anyways, that first deal, like I said, we made 24 grand. It was me and my brother. And then from then moving forward, it went fucking downhill. So we made 24,000. I quit my other broker business where I'm making probably 60 grand a year. And on our second deal, we lost 50,000. A lot of shit went wrong. Our third deal, we lost 10 grand. Our fourth deal, we broke even. And I think our fifth deal, we might have made like 10 grand, 12 grand. That's what that first year looked like. But so the first deal went really well. The second deal, we jumped into, at the time, it was a $500,000 ARV in Salt Lake. And that would be equivalent to about probably 1.2 million today, 1.4 million today as your second deal. And even then it was like an $80,000 remodel, which today would probably be 150, 160 grand on the rehab.
Yeah.
On my second deal, I had no business, no fucking business at all doing a deal that big of a rehab. So that second deal, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the first deal too, with contractors and just stuff. And that's why I laugh about the bus tour or reading the books or whatever. This is a business, probably same for most things, but there's so much stuff that you just learn as you do it that you couldn't have read that in a book. You couldn't have, there's no other way you're going to have that experience and that adversity other than just going through it. So you have to figure out so much different shit. From that second deal, it was just a long driveway with a 1-car garage at the end. And I'm not thinking someone who's going to be buying a $500,000 house, they're going to have nice cars. There's going to be multiple cars. You have to park single file. The garage is at the end. You just don't know that. You don't think about that, right? That same house was on a cul-de-sac, and the house across the street from the cul-de-sac was literally like falling off the hill and should have been condemned and just totally looked like shit. Eyesore of a home, right? And it did end up getting condemned. Like the city said, hey, people can't live in here. And that's right across the street from my $500,000 house and really nice area and all the stuff. So there's just stuff like that you don't know, to contractors putting liens on your house when you fire them. There's just a lot of stuff. But that first 18 months was really gnarly because every mistake you can make, because you don't know what you don't know, we pretty much found out the hard way. You're going to pay for your education one way or another. And
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it because you don't know how to deal with a contractor. You know, everybody thinks that construction is so rough and tumble, but there you scream at them and you get nowhere. But if you're nice to them and you ask them, you know, hey, can you fix this? Because I got a city inspection. Can you do me a favor? They'll jump and run over there. And you just can't, you don't learn that in the book. The personal relationships that you have with your subs and stuff like that are a huge part of it.
Yeah, and the first deal we did, like the contractor, he says 2 things in the same. He's, "Hey, so there's all this extra stuff that I did for you because I'm looking out for you and wanted to take care of you." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Thanks so much for doing that." And then he turns around and says it's gonna be $9,000 extra. And I'm like, "Bro, are you helping me out or are you spending my money without my permission? Which one is it? Because those two don't exist together,
He's
you know?
helping himself out.
Yeah. So just going through experiences like that, like just all of it, the whole process of the mechanical process of demoing a house all the way through like finishing it, like that's a whole thing within itself. You also have like dealing with contractors, like selling a product. There's just so much that you learn. So I think the first year or 2 years is always going to be a huge learning curve.
Absolutely. So the moving on from that school of hard knocks that you paid for your education, where was that moment that we all have 5, 6 years into it, or wherever you're at, where you have that moment of self confidence? You're like, fuck, I actually do know what I'm doing. This is it's starting to click, and I'm starting to pick this up.
Dude, I think that's an ongoing process. You know what I mean? Even this last year through different things, I'm like, oh shit, maybe I do know what I'm doing. But
It's
uh,
always evolving.
yeah, no, I think I think the biggest moment of there's a lot of them, but one that stands out specifically, and it's not even a specific deal or like we made money on a deal. It's actually a terrible situation that stands out to me. But there was this deal where it was a bad deal, man. But we had two loans. So we had the hard money loan for 325 grand that we borrowed in first position to buy the house. And then we had a second loan from a different hard money lender for 100,000 for the rehab for the deal. Somehow the guys in second position or who were supposed to be in second position lending the rehab money, their deed got recorded first. And then the guy who lent the purchase money, his deed recorded second. And that's a major problem because whoever's first and second on the title of the property, they have precedence. People in first always get paid in full. And then it goes. So that was a major problem, but nobody knew that happened. So we're like 8 months into this deal, dude, 9 months into this deal, probably 9 months into this deal. Rehab goes good, dude. Fucking nail the rehab, dope house, super cool style, very unique, a little bit over budget. Our timeline's not bad. And then the market just dipped on us. And this is probably 2015. Like market just dipped. And then there was this other guy doing high end flips around me in this area. This is probably a $750,000 house at the time. And the dude around me, his name's Phil, he dropped all of the prices like 50 grand on his properties. And that just fucked the comps for the whole, not even the comps, like that just, it was already competitive, lots of homes. And that just, dude, that was bad. That was tough to absorb because now I had nicer homes for the same price or less. So, anyways, long story short, deal's going sideways. I'm for sure going to lose money on it. And I call the title agent and I'm like, hey, can you just pull I was asking her essentially to help me put together a payoff on the first and the second, and she was looking at whatever, and she goes, "You have a problem." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Dave is in first," and I forget who had the other one. Basically, the guys in first, no, Dave is in second. And then the other guys are in first. I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I didn't really understand what that meant, and then she told me, and I was like, "Oh, man, that's a problem." So I had a relationship with the Dave Williams guy. He was the guy who got recorded in second. He had been funding all my deals, but he would never do rehab money. He would only do the purchase. So anyways, I call him up and I'm like, hey man, I don't know what to do, but this deal's not good. It's going sideways. We're probably losing 20, 25 grand if I sell it at list price today. And I just found out that you're recorded in second position. And he freaks out naturally, like he would or should. And so anyways, we get into this whole thing. I call the other guys who are supposed to be in second and I'm like, hey, it everything's mixed around. I need you to subordinate it. And they refuse to do it. So now I have this retired successful business guy and this professional hard money lender at war with each other on a deal that's going sideways. And I'm in the middle of it. And I'm like maybe a year and a half into doing this, 2 years into doing flipping homes. And I don't have them. And then the title company who I had a great relationship with and helped me with everything. They called me into a meeting because the one guy's, hey, I'll just call my I'll make a lender's policy claim. They're just getting nasty lawsuits threatened. So anyways, the title company calls me in and I go meet with the two owners and I'm thinking we're on the same team. So I'm giving them an update on the deal. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. This guy's saying this. He's going to call the title policy. And they're like, yeah, if it calls the title policy, that falls on us. And we're going to sue you if that happens because you did not disclose that there was a second loan being put on the property. And this whole thing is your fault. And I thought they were on my team, dude. And I'm like, blindsided out of left field. We're at this long conference table, and I'm at the front of it, and then there's one guy halfway, and the other guy's at the end of it, which is weird. I thought that now that I think about it, it's weird they sat so far away.
Yeah.
So anyways, me and the dude at the end, we're like going at it. And I'm like, dude, your title agent is the one that drafted the fucking note in the deed for the second position loan. Don't tell me you didn't know about it. And I'm fraud. Like they're accusing me of being sketchy and all this shit. I take my phone, dude, and I huck it down to the end of the thing. I'm like, call anyone in my fucking phone and ask them about my integrity and how I operate and shit. Like, how dare you assume that I would, whatever. So anyways, but I got blindsided by all of that, dude. And I remember leaving that meeting and I was sitting outside the sushi restaurant in the parking lot. And I was just like, I fucking handled that meeting, dude. For whatever reason, that was a defining moment for me was having that whole and then anyways, the deal closed, like we got the deal done and everything was fine. I lost a little bit of money. Everyone got made whole. That's important. Always make your investors whole no matter what. But anyways, man, that was like a defining moment for me in my career. I don't know why it wasn't a win. It was a loss. Most of my good lessons come from losses, but that's what happened, dude. So that for sure was like, I think it gave me the confidence of I can hang and I don't know. That was a huge confidence.
That's a great story, Mike. Just because there's so many, you just never know the variables that are going to be in there, and who sometimes you think who's on your team is not on your team. So you don't learn those until you're confronted with it.
More than anything, man, as I think about it, I think when you don't quit and you don't back down, that gives you confidence. You showed up in a situation. That's probably why the confidence came there because I didn't back down and I didn't quit and I stood firm in my core values.
Absolutely. Another thing that I love about your business, not only are you in the rehabs, you're a realtor and you have the mortgage company. So you're vertically integrated. And that's something that not a lot of people are comfortable doing. And I think is a great business model, obviously, because I do it myself. But tell us how you got started in that and on that path.
Yeah, man. So when I was flipping homes and then I got my real estate license and I ended up joining a buyer's team or a real estate team and I was being a buyer's agent and I was also doing flips and I was learning how to be a real estate agent. So anyways, I ended up getting my real estate license. I was doing a couple deals a month and then I had a month where I had a week where I had 4 deals fall apart. And for about a year, 6 months before that, a guy who I had met and become friends with asked me to, hey, hey, dude, we're killing it with mortgages. I'd love to have you come join my team. You get licensed and all that stuff. And I said, hey, bro, I'm doing my real estate stuff. It's going pretty good. I'm getting some momentum. I got my flips going. Not a good fit for me, but Tyler,
Yeah.
he's the parent broker of lifestyle lending. I said, hey, would be a good gig for my brother. Would you be down with meeting with him? So anyways, my brother went to work for this guy, Jed. And then like a year down the road, dude, my brother, he's not like outgoing sales guy, like rough. He's making like 15, 20 grand a month, dude, slinging VA loans over the phone. And I just had 4 real estate deals fall apart in 1 week. And I was like, fuck this, man. So I ended up calling Tyler and Jed and I was like, hey, I want to come do the loan thing. So I got my loan license. And at that point, I was doing loans on the phone all during the day. And then I was still selling real estate as an agent and I still had a couple flips going at a time. So basically since 2014, 2015, I've been actively flipping, selling real estate and doing loans. And it's just grown from there.
I love that. And it just fits into everything. So you can take care of your customer service is set up because you're taking care of the client that's buying your rehab all the way through the mortgage. You can get those deals where you can help them close the deal and take care of them 100% all the way through it.
Yeah, and it's nice too when you control the whole deal, like you're doing the finance and the real estate side, like it's a smoother experience for the client. So it's
Right.
helped client retention. It's helped us with getting referrals, people just having a good experience. And then you're making double the money too, because you're collecting 2 commissions. But that's been, yeah. And again, going back to the sales thing, because we were just doing specifically VA refinances over the phone. And then being a real estate agent and having deals fall apart or fighting with lenders or just people not communicating well. I'm like, this is crazy. We should just do all of it. People will have such a better experience. So really the idea of doing that grew off of giving people a good experience, which goes back to the sales and the solutions. problem solution solving, like we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Absolutely. Shifting gears a little bit, I know that you're big into to personal development because that's where we met is in the RHA syndicate. And that's a funny story how we met in the first place. And just your approach, I know you're really big and you're one of my favorite people to hear speak because you talk about the entire lifestyle from your health and wellness to your business to relationships. Tell us how you got into the personal development area of your life.
Dude, it's personal development has been crucial to just be where I'm at. But when I was doing that sales job for Monrovia, the inside sales job at the nursery, I had a guy there who took me under his wing. And one day I showed up and he had a book on my desk and it was Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I was reading that book with him. And then also during while we're reading the book, another day I came into my cubicle and on the outside of it was a computer sheet and he had printed 2 million, the number 2 million on it really big and put it on the outside of my cubicle. And I was like, what's this? And he's, you're going to sell 2 million. You can do it. I believe in you. You're going to be the first guy to ever sell 2 million his first year. I'm reading this book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, and then having this visualizing X thing going on that I didn't even know that was a thing. And I ended up selling like 2.1, 2.2 million that year. And that just opened my whole mind. And then when I was on the road driving all the time, I was listening to Brian Tracy. I bought his sales program. And so that book at that time, coupled with the visualizing, coupled with a huge result, I've been sold on self-development, man, ever since I was 20.
That's great. The funny story is Mike and I are both into the RNT syndicate, which I think is the best group out there for personal development. But so I'm from Montana and there's no direct flights to anywhere from fucking Montana. Well, I have a layover in Salt Lake and I'm sitting in first class. So this is a good lesson, right? So I'm in my RNT shirt and I'm in first class and Mike comes walking in right behind me and he notices me and then he notices my watch because I'm wearing a Rolex and he's wearing a Rolex. So we just start chatting right off the bat in between seats about watches in our RJ indicator. So to me, it's a good lesson on put yourself in position to have conversation with successful people. You're not going to get that in the back of a plane in the middle seat.
And environment's everything, man. And that's why I always tell people, hey, go plug into your local real estate networking group. Whatever it is you want to be doing, go put yourself in the room where that's happening and then try to get as close as you can to the people who are excelling at that very thing. That's self-development coupled with the environment. Those two things are really important because if you're doing the self-development, but you're staying in a shitty environment and the people around you are negative and they're not, it's like hitting the gas and the brake at the same time or going to the gym all the time, but then eating McDonald's every other meal. Environment and self-development go hand in hand.
Love that. Yep. We both kind of taking charge of our fitness and our health. I love that about you. And the one of the best things I've seen you do in the last year or two, because we've been friends a while now, is you've taken on the mentee. You've taken Brandon and you're helping him along that now he's 20 and doing deal. It's really cool to see that you're passing the knowledge that you have along, not only in your speaking career as well as taking somebody young under your wing.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. And I think it's someone told me you should always have a mentor and a mentee. And now I'm a little bit more established in life and business, 36 years old, and it's cool to do that. But it's fun to see, to just watch it happen. It's been cool. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Absolutely. To wrap up, we've got three questions that I'm asking everybody. And we're going to start with what is the worst piece of advice that you've ever received in business or personal? It could be either or.
Dude, it was more of an experience for me. So when I came across Grant Card, are we good on time?
Yeah, we're great.
So Grant Cardone, 10X, I'm sure everyone knows who he is. When I came across him probably in 2014, I read the 10X rule. And essentially what that means is he says everything is going to take you 10 times the effort, 10 times the work, 10 times whatever you think it's going to be going into it to actually be successful at it is going to take 10X. And then this whole idea of 10Xing your life. And that's just what, to me, that meant like going all in. I'm all in 100%, not just on my whole life, the fitness, the relationships, all the stuff and working hard. I think working hard is something that's cool and you should be proud of. And that's why dogs recognize dogs, guys. Like that's why you and I are here, Levi, because we share that in common. Like we want to do the best that we can and be the best that we can. And you got to be all in to do that. So I'm adopting that mindset and philosophy, and I'm having success and all of this stuff. And then I just remember I was at a family reunion, and one of my aunt's boyfriends, who's a financial advisor, like whatever he is, broke is what he is, but they were talking about telling me how I need to slow down and don't be like your dad and you work too much and blah, blah, blah. And then he said something, and I don't even know what he said, but I remember he looked at me and he like nods and like in a seat, like he's senior to me, like he's telling me, he's like, yeah, that's how it's done. And I just remember looking at him and I was like, I'm never going to be like that motherfucker ever. I will never fucking be that dude. And that was the worst piece of advice I've ever received, is that it's okay and that you should do whatever, slow down and relax and all of the stuff. But it was more of an experience
Yeah.
than it was a piece of advice. And I was just like, you can see I'm bugged right now. I'm like, it's like, I'm never going to fucking be like you, dude, ever.
Did you drive your Ferrari up to his house?
No, I'm sure he saw it on the gram.
So what's the best piece of advice that you heard?
Dude, I think some of the strongest pieces of advice outside of the self-development and being in the room, but just little tidbits that my dad's told me since I was little. And I think growing up in a small town and him knowing everybody for a long time was a huge asset for me. But he would always say, you only have your name and your word, son. You only have your name and your word. And I take my name and my integrity and my core values serious, and my word too. Like like I've lost so much money so many times on so many deals, and my investors got paid all their money back plus interest. Like, I'll cut my fucking arm off before I burn my name or burn somebody or don't follow through with what I said I'm going to do. So that's been a huge piece of advice. And another piece of advice that my dad told me is like, address things as soon as you can. Don't let shit fester, because the longer you let it fester, the worse it's going to be. And those two things have served me a bunch.
I love both of those. And the procrastination thing is big for me because I agree 100%. And a lot of it's in my personal life as well. If you just handle it right away, it's over and done. And then you can move on to things that are going to bring value to your life.
Yeah. But
Um,
self-development, man, and environment is so much, because until you shift those two things, nothing is ever going to change for you. You have to be different for things to be different.
I agree with that. And then our final question to wrap up, we have an ongoing debate here in our company. There's two types of people in the world: people who love to win, or two kind of successful people. I'll say people that love to win, or people that hate to lose. Which
Yeah.
one do you consider yourself?
Fucking hate to lose, bro.
I get it.
And I think that's just that. I told you earlier, man, always being a little small. I'm 5'6", pounds, like 170 pounds. I'm not I'm not going to lose. I just don't being pushed around. I don't like being fucked with. I don't want to lose. And that's a big driver. And I think you'll find guys that, I think all the dudes that I know, man, the ones that hate to lose versus the ones that love to win, there's just a different edge, dude. There's a different edge, I think. And I
They
like
just
that.
got that dog in them.
I, li- I like that.
Yeah. So you're jacked now. You're not the short, chubby kid anymore. You're getting swole.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying. Thank you, though.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you being on here. You're not only my friend, which I appreciate to no end, but we're actually partners as well. We have a free real estate coaching group. It's the real deal on Facebook. We'll put a link in the thumbnails here so everybody can check it out. Mike's got tons and tons of knowledge on everything real estate. I use him as a sounding board all the time. So, dude, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you and love watching your success, and excited to be partners with you long term.
Yeah, man, 100%, dude. There's going to be lots of stuff coming that we're going to do, and would love for everyone to be in the group. But it's because of the people that came before us that shared information and knowledge. That's how you gain a new level of awareness of things. And like you talked about earlier with the mentee thing, I think that's important. And really, at the end of the day, it's just about operating from a high frequency, and givers win, man. You get what you give. We're just here to provide value and build a community, because again, everything's relationship based. I built my whole life and business on relationships. You and I's conversation today is an attestament to that. So the stronger the relationships you have, the more relationships you have, the more money you're going to make and the more opportunities you're going to have. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again. And until next time, we'll see you.
Okay, bro. See ya.